Hello, everybody. I'm Drew Duncan. The show's fired up, and we are live. I am brought to you in part by WBFR Block 50 Radio, which is online 24/7, 365 at block50radio.com. I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. Take a device to play Fired Up by Drew Duncan, iTunes, iHeart, Google, etc. Wherever you're listening, I am there. Social media is all Drew Duncan Radio, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. TikTok is The Real Drew Duncan. And I am on YouTube, The Real Drew Duncan, the RL Drew Duncan, where I do post entire episodes for free. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody, although in Kansas City, 99% sure that Valentine's Day has been canceled because they decided to have their Super Bowl parade today. And if anybody saw how the streets were lined the last time when literally employers gave up and said, to hell with it, I guess we're just going to have to close out today. Restaurant workers, just call out, man. I've been a server. I know today's a big money day for you, but it ain't happening. Not in Kansas City, it's not. I'm just saying. Guys, plenty to get to today. We're going to be talking about Will Compton from Bussin' with the Boys remarks about Patrick Mahomes. We're going to be talking about Jackie Robinson, whose statue was stolen. Well, and what Jackie Robinson Jr. has to say about it. We're going to be talking about Hassan Reddick. He claims that he didn't request a trade. We're going to be talking about the UFL going back to a more traditional style of kickoff. Remember, they merged with the XFL, and they had a different style. We're going to be talking about the Phoenix Open and changes as a result of the other day. We're going to be talking about Jeff Waltz, head coach of Louisville, got fined by the NCAA. We're going to be talking about the college football playoff. They are set to vote on the 12-team playoff rules. We're going to be talking about T-Mac, what he has to say about LeBron, Draymond, and Youssef. Their beef continues. More Brock Purdy debate. Shaq gets his jersey retired. Plenty to get to today. Matter of fact, let's get into it. Let's cut the foreplay. Here he is talking about Patrick Mahomes.
Mahomes going to win a Super Bowl without Andy Reid. Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, I mean, he's had the perfect situation the entirety of his career. Like, let him go win one without Travis Kelce and Andy Reid, and then we can start talking about him being the greatest of all time. I mean, at what point is...
Okay. Boy, I tell you what. You want to talk about people who just say things to say things? It happens a lot, unfortunately, when you're desperate to stay relevant in social media. He said all that while wearing, of course, right? Okay, so here's my thing, because I'm just going to presume that this is a troll job, but just in case it's not, I'm going to keep it a buck really quick. First of all, wasn't Andy Reid known as a coach, basically, who couldn't get it done to a lot of people? What did Andy Reid ever accomplish without Donovan McNabb? How many NFC championship games did he go to without Donovan McNabb? How many Super Bowls did he go to without Donovan McNabb? Then he gets to Kansas City, and I will be the first one to tell you that I knew that when he showed up there as a Broncos fan, because this is before I was in journalism, I thought, we're in deep-ish. We're up creek without a paddle, because I knew Andy Reid was not going to sit around on $39 million in unused salary cap money that the Kansas City Chiefs had at that time frame. I knew that wasn't going to happen. I knew he was a good coach, but I didn't think he was a great coach. And here's the other thing. When he gets there, he's got Alex Smith, who, a lot of people really underrate him. He was a damn good quarterback. And I think good enough to get you to where you want to go. Didn't Indianapolis come back against Kansas City on that huge lead in the playoffs? Really honestly, when all is said and done, how many Super Bowls did Andy Reid win before he had number 15 is what I'm getting at here. Let's just cut the old crab cake. How many? None. Literally none. He couldn't get it done. Everybody blamed Donovan McNabb for the longest time when they were together in Philly. And I think after McNabb was gone, it became apparent that Andy Reid could not get it done himself. Look at all the bad coaching decisions. Hey, I know what we're going to do. We're not going to try to make anything happen, but there's 30 seconds left on a Thursday night game playing a rival team in our division, and we're going to go ahead and run the football. Oh, look, it's a fumble. There he goes. Touchdown, Denver. There's a laundry list of them. Hell, we saw it this year against the Detroit Lions. What was it, 4th and 26 from your own 25-yard line? You've got all 3 timeouts left, plus the 2-minute warning. Your defense has played really solid for the football game. And instead of punting the football away and taking your chances with 4 timeouts, basically, you're like, I'm just going to have Patrick Mahomes chuck one up and see what happens. You want to talk about somebody who's been relying on number 15 since he's been there? Come on. Look, I do not want to hear about Patrick Mahomes being in the GOAT debate. I don't. It's too early in his career. I've said that 100 times. But if there is anybody that's truly out there saying that Patrick Mahomes is the beneficiary of Andy Reid, they have another thing coming. And what about that horrendous offensive line that Patrick Mahomes had to play with for his first couple of years? Let's not forget about that either. Andy Reid just got extremely pass happy when he went to Kansas City and decided to play huck it, chuck it football, especially when he got number 15. I don't see where it's advantage Patrick Mahomes. And why do we have to do stupid stuff like, well, you know what? If he really wants to talk about being the GOAT, if we're really going to do that, I just need Brody to go to the Jets, man, and really prove it. You know, that's what he's got to do, man. He's got to go to the Jets, bro. Why? What does Patrick Mahomes, if you can't watch football and watch Patrick Mahomes and what he does, I don't know what to tell you, kid. Because if anybody saw that Tampa Bay Super Bowl, you would have seen that man back there literally running for his life, albeit on a bad ankle. He had a concussion. What was it, the week prior? Some people's kids, man, you can't logically even begin to sit back and watch the throws that Mahomes makes and then decide, here's the thing, man. If he's really going to be the GOAT, and I mean really going to be the GOAT, he's got to do it without Andy Reid. So if Andy Reid would just do us all a favor, especially me, and retire tomorrow, that would be great. And by the way, he's just mad because at the beginning of the season, that offensive line is mid, bro. That defense is mid, bro. Patrick Mahomes ain't going to be able to do it this year, bro. That's what he's mad about when it boils down to it. I was one of the few that after that Detroit Lions game said, we're going to look back on this and see the Kansas City Chiefs where the Detroit Lions want to be. I was not really worried about that loss for Kansas City. I really wasn't. They played horrific throughout the season, but I really was just like, number 15 is still him, and it's hard to bet against him. Even with the BS at the beginning of the year with Travis Kelce getting into fights with guys and him being hurt and the contract situation with Jones and all that stuff, I just still was like, number 15 is still him. Hard to bet against him. Look where he is. And for anybody to have the balls to say that it's because of Andy Reid, bro, I'm just going to tell you that you ain't bussing with the boys. What you are clearly doing is getting too drunk or too high with the homies and just saying random stuff because you think you sound cool when really we just figured out that your football knowledge is Madden, bro. So there's that. That dude's just got me so angry the more I think about it. Good grief. Win one without Andy Reid. Man, shut up. How could Patrick Mahomes has had the perfect situation? Most drops in the NFL, bro. Perfect situation. Travis Kelce fighting guys. Hogging up all the spotlight with Taylor Swift. Yeah, the offensive line. that for the first, 2 or 3 years that he was there was ranked in the bottom of the barrel, like 28 to 32 every season in pass blocking. Now, other than that perfect situation, losing Tyreek Hill, maybe the worst wide receiving core in the NFL, but, perfect situation because of Andy Reid. Man, you know what? There are people that should not be allowed to talk about sports. They exist. Get real. And people think my opinions are crazy. At least I could back what I said with some sort of fact. There's literally no fact in that. It's just rambling incoherently while hungover. Out of here with all that, man. Who told you that was okay to say? Who cleared that? Did you not wake up in the morning and think to yourself, maybe I shouldn't do this? Maybe I should just let it go and just give Mahomes his due for this season? No. That would be too easy, wouldn't it? No, got to stick to your guns. You know how many times I've said I'm wrong? It's okay to be wrong. It's fine to be wrong. But no, not you, bro. You are never wrong. Grief. Shaq gets his jersey retired. By the Orlando Magic. When I was a kid, Shaq was one of my favorite basketball players. And I will always know him for his time more in Orlando than I will with the Miami Heat, than I will with the LA Lakers. It's the way that it is. And I know that he won championships with the Lakers and the Heat, and I can appreciate his jersey being hung up in 4 different places. It's a phenomenal accomplishment. It really is. There's only 2 others, right? One of them is Pistol Pete, right? So it's an amazing accomplishment. It really is. I'm not getting prepared to be like, but. No, there's none of that. For me, I had one of those little, pinup deals or whatever, man, with Shaq, Duncan it. And then when I was a kid, I had the tape. I'm not embarrassed to say it. I had the Shaq tape. See, young bucks, y'all think Shaq is just now snapping. Now, he was never really the greatest rapper, but man, I'm going to tell you something. Do you want me to pass it? No. Do you want me to shoot it? No. Do you want me to dunk it? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the jam, man. And the thing was, that was him because everybody said that Shaq, he got labeled this guy that all he could do was dunk the ball. Right? I guess people really weren't watching basketball back then either because Brody was hustling. And I'm talking about he was making hustle plays all over the floor because this was, for lack of a better term, Slimmer Shaq. It really was Slimmer Shaq. He was just sliding all over the place. He was anywhere and everywhere. Him and Penny Hardaway, man, that was a lot of fun to watch. Come on, man. Does anybody remember those commercials with Penny Hardaway and Chris Rock? Little Penny. Yeah. I can't do a good Chris Rock, but Little Penny. Absolutely. Penny Hardaway, man. Anthony Hardaway. See, younger generation, before he was a coach in Memphis, he was a basketball player. It's horrible because he got hurt, and he was just never really the same again. When he went to Phoenix, it was just kind of like, all right, bro. It was obvious that he was not the same basketball player already. And especially after they beat Jordan in the playoffs the year that Jordan came back, a lot of people looked at that and went, they're on their way. They just beat Jordan. There's no way that they're losing the NBA Finals. Then they got swept. Remember Horace Grant was on that team? Showed up talking about, well, guys, here's my rings from when I was with Chicago. Trying to get them motivated. Yeah, I'm not really sure that's the way to do it, amigo, but it is what it is. Regardless, That was a fun team to watch, man. Nick Hardaway, Penny, Shaq, little Scotty Styles. I just, for me, my favorite version of Shaq was Orlando Magic Shaq, because he was really unlike any other basketball player that we had really truly seen at that time. You had beforehand Magic Johnson, who could run and gun, but man, Shaq was just a different beast. And, you know, I remember that dunk that he did where he just pulled that mother back. He was breaking backboards. And I mean, Shaq is literally the reason why they made a lot of rules about dunking that they did. But he couldn't help it. It's not his fault. He's just always the biggest and the strongest. I mean, it's kind of physics, man. It's scientific, really. Brody is 7 feet tall. He's just naturally stronger than everybody else. You know, and you know, a lot of people were talking about his weight gain when he went to the Lakers and all that. I still have no idea what kind of diet you've got to maintain when you're that damn big to, to even begin to have a gut. And I don't think I want to know how much money that dude's got to spend on food, seriously. I mean, really think about it. If he wasn't making money as a ball player, how he would be able to sustain himself, I don't know, man. I can only imagine the growing pains too, because remember when he went to college, he was what, like 6'4" or something like that? And then he grew like another 7 inches when he was in college. I can only imagine those growing pains in the middle of the night, seriously. He was fun to watch back then, man. You know, Shaq, see, younger generation, here's something you don't get, okay? You see mostly LA Laker highlights when Shaq learned how to pivot and do all that stuff, and the way that he moved around the ball, and you know, the still not being able to hit a free throw regardless of anything. You know, remember Barkley? Hey, ain't nothing free about a free throw. Just ask Shaq. You got to understand, like, we know that Barkley's been trolling Shaq since back in the 90s. For me personally, I think the thing that I like the most about Orlando Shaq was that team was so young and so gritty. You know, it was kind of like watching the Oklahoma City Thunder when, you know, they first came into the league, and Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden, and, you know, they were just so young and so gritty, you know, and that crowd was always so intense. And, you know, that atmosphere in Orlando, you wouldn't think it would be a basketball place, at least not in my mind, but it absolutely is. And those fans were crazy when all that stuff was going on. And look, Shaq brought a different dynamic to basketball because he was always himself. He was never trying to be anybody that he wasn't. He was just being him. And I think him and Penny were entertaining because Penny was really quiet, even though they did that movie together, Blue Chips. Penny was really low key, man. He really wasn't that dude. Like, even in his commercials, you could just see, like, I kind of don't want to be here, but it's also kind of fun. You know those type of people. You know what I'm talking about. Like, I really want to be at that party with all those people, but I really don't want to be at that party with all those people. But if I don't go to that party with all those people, I'm going to regret not being at that party with all those people. But if I don't go, then it's like, cool, I just had a chill night, but I don't want to go there and be like Mr. Depressed because I'm quiet. I'm actually having a good time. I'm just quiet. I'm just low key. You know, if you start talking to me, you figure out, man, I'm a pretty cool dude type stuff. That was Penny Hardaway, like all the way, 100. That was Penny Hardaway to me. Shaq, though, was flamboyant. He was out there. He didn't care. He was having fun. He was living it up. He embraced what Orlando was all about with Disney World and all that. I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better dude to be right there in Orlando at age 21. Seriously. I mean, really, when you think about it, same thing at LSU. He's down there by, you know, New Orleans and all that. I mean, it's literally like that is Shaq. It's literally the perfect environment for him. Literally. And I think that was one of the quiet contributors to me of making basketball what it was in the 90s. those guys up and down the floor, running and gunning like they were still in college and just having fun. That was a really fun time of basketball to me. Real quick here. My man P is my guy. My A1 since day one. My brother from another mother. You my guy, Brody. You my guy. But I hoped upon hope that last night you were watching North Carolina get it from the Qs, Brody. Let's go orange. You don't want to see us in the dome, baby. You don't want that smoke in the dome, do you? Nah. What's poppin', big fella? What's poppin'? You know the call-in number. Come on, man. If you out there listening right now, I hope you saw every second of that. Look, man, as a diehard Syracuse fan for football and basketball, I don't get a lot to talk about in the good times. It doesn't happen very often anymore because it used to be, well, hell, I guess I'll just wait till basketball season. I can't even really say that anymore. Can't even say that anymore. Nah. But man, what a win. Just beautiful. From beginning to end, total domination by the Qs. Loving it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it. Yeah. Better head on over to McDonald's. Get you a wham burger and some French fries. Jeff Waltz was fined by the NCAA because he did not agree with the officiating with Syracuse and his team, Louisville. Look, here's the thing. And this is something that I've said. I'm going to say it again. It's frustrating to me. I don't know why this is. Regardless of your position, if you watch the Louisville-Syracuse game, regardless of your position, I don't agree with people always complaining about the refs. Because it's not always the refs. Sometimes you get your ass kicked and you don't know how to deal with it. Other times, I will agree that poor officiating absolutely had something to do with the outcome of the game. But that doesn't always matter. My thing is, you should not be fined for what you have to say about officiating simply because at that point, you are silencing somebody. And when you're silencing somebody, everybody want to talk about America, freedom of speech, and woo. Yet here we are, NBA's finding people. Now they're doing it in college. At what point are we going to rise up and just say, to hell with this? The referees don't deserve this kind of immunity. They should not be above criticism. Not all publicity is good publicity. The NBA may be okay with what's going on. The NCAA may be okay with what's going on. But I'm going to tell you right now, if we stop watching and we stop commenting and we get real silent real quick, I guarantee you they are going to be forced into changing how they handle officiating after the fact. Why should anybody get fined for what they say about the refs? Why should anybody get fined unless it is something belligerent, out of pocket? To say that the officiating was garbage and going on a rant, that's just not it. What's annoying is how they are protecting the officials. Why? Why are you so hell-bent on protecting referees? And that leads to an even bigger question, because now it becomes, what are you hiding? What's really going on back there? What conversations are you having that we don't know about? And what does every league say, right? Something to the effect of, well, we review all the officiating, we take a good hard look at everything, and we try to figure out, look, we reprimand and we congratulate and we take it very seriously. Well, apparently you don't. Because when you fine people for criticizing your officials, you are not taking it seriously enough. Because when you can't speak out against somebody, I mean, damn, man, that's like communism. Seriously. Bootlickers. I ain't with it. And understand, I'm a diehard Syracuse fan. I don't care, to me, if my opinion is about whether or not the officiating was good. What aggravates me is not being able to speak out about it. You want more Tim Donaghy's? This is how you create them. This is it right here. This is how you create Tim Donaghy, by protecting his ass when he doesn't deserve it. Moving on. The college football playoff is getting together to vote on the 5-7 rule. And basically the 5-7 rule is the 5 power conference champions, which you can't even do that now with the Pac-12 being non-existent. They've got to have a total of 8 teams within 2 years. And by the way, the NCAA's already told them that while you're around and you're the Pac-2, and that's great, you've created this schedule with, the MWC, the Mountain West Conference. It's great that you've done that, but your teams are not getting an automatic in right now. So really, to me, the 5-7 rule is probably going to end up having to be the 4-8 rule, which I still think is ridiculous. Look, I think it's really, really simple. You take the top 12 football teams in the country, you heavily consider who the, quote, Power 5 conference champion is, and you go from there. Because if you're a Penn State from a few years ago, all those fans whining and crying, remember when that happened, after their team was a 2-loss football team and it got obliterated in the middle of the year. What was it, by Michigan, if I remember right? I know you beat Ohio State, but you also lost to Michigan the way that you did. And you had 2 losses, and I get it, you were a conference champion. It shouldn't be an automatic anymore. Not with 12 teams. And here's the other thing. I really think that we need to stop doing a strictly voting system. I got to tell you, I'm not sure that I thought that I would not miss the BCS era with the computer analytics and all that and taking the, quote, human element out of it. I tell you what, I think I regret that 100%. Because if I'm being really real with it, we screwed up by letting that thing go. We need to bring in more computer analytics. We need to do something to change college football. And really, honestly, I think we should start doing more of an FCS-type playoff system. I just think that having this thing voted on is ridiculous. It's too much now with allowing things into the hands of the wrong people. We saw how it all went down with Florida State. And I'm not going to change my opinion on that. I'm never going to change my opinion on that. We saw what we saw with them in Georgia because those guys flipped off college football and said, we're not going to do this. Kids skip town because you told them you're not good enough. Go prove it. Why, bro? Why am I going to risk getting hurt? You've already seen what happened to our quarterback. And now you're telling me that I need to risk my career to prove to you against Georgia, a game that doesn't even matter to anybody after you told us we weren't good enough to begin with, and all you're going to do is make excuses for the Bulldogs afterwards? No, we're not doing this. Bye. I'd have rolled out of there too. And even if I would have played, I'd have just sat there. Literally, I just would have been like, oh, man, look at that. He's running right by me. I'm not even going to bother to tackle him. You know why? Because it doesn't matter, pimpin'. It doesn't matter. Something has got to change. I'm not satisfied with this anymore. And I think this is ridiculous because now what's going to happen is bet money we're still going to be having undefeated teams left out. It should have been obvious to everybody when Central Florida got left out. It should have been obvious to everybody when a 12-1 Houston team got left out. It should have been obvious to a lot of people that this was the direction that the NCAA was going. Understand that when you say Florida State is not going to be in and they are an undefeated ACC champion, they have now opened up Pandora's box to leave out everybody else out of every conference and go, SEC, we want your first 4. You're going to create something, believe me when I tell you, when you look back on it, you're going to hate it. and it is going to make college football unwatchable. You think it's the NIL deals, you think it's the transfer portal. It's not. It's all this other BS that is going to make college football unwatchable. And every single year, the only reason why people are going to watch the CFP is to hope upon hope that SEC teams get eliminated. That's it. That's all they're going to do now. Having a CFP board, what does that even matter when they're not held to a really good standard? The questions that they ask are such lead-in questions. The answers that they give is everything that you've already heard Kirk Herbstreit say. What does that matter? And now you've got Kirk Herbstreit allegedly using his influence to guide kids to go to Nebraska. Why? What are you even doing? That's not journalism. Well, kid wants to go to Syracuse. I'd be like, great, man, but do you think that's really the best school for you? You know, and I understand that his family played there and that kid's got ties, but that is not a good look. Because if you're telling somebody to go somewhere else, either you're protecting Georgia or you have another investment that you haven't discovered yet. That's a bad look all the way around. Of course, let's not forget that the Big Ten is their third biggest investment. Right? You've got the SEC, you got the CFP, and then you got the ACC, that's third, and then the Big Ten, that's fourth for ESPN. Come on. It's not even journalism anymore. It's really sad. The Brock Purdy debate is continuing to rage. And before I get into this, I want to make a couple of things very clear. I do not know why Cam Newton is being seen as the front runner for this debate, because the other guy that has not backed down from this is Uncle Shannon Sharpe. Why Cam is getting all the bad publicity out of this, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It is what it is. But here is Uncle Shay getting it in with Jeff Saturday on ESPN about Brock Purdy.
Did he have as good a game in the Super Bowl as Jalen Hurts did the year before? Yes or no?
No.
And we still have questions about Jalen Hurts.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Hold
on a second. Jalen Hurts had a better, because he ran for 3 touchdowns, and 2 of those runs are 3-yard runs. But it's what you're asking him to do. Did he he didn't fumble it so if you want to go that way, Hurts hurt his team as well with the fumble. So he did not hurt his team at all. He gave his team nothing but advantage to win.
I just believe that Brock Purdy was not Mr. Irrelevant, we would have questions. But because he's a 7th round draft pick, you say, well, Shannon, look how far he's come. He's Mr. Irrelevant. He's guiding a team. That team was more talented on both sides of the football than Kansas City.
Period. End of story. End of discussion. I do not know why this continues to be a thing. That is literally all there is to it. You can be mad at Cam Newton for calling Brock Purdy a game manager all you want to. You could be mad at Shannon Sharpe for saying what he said about Brock Purdy all you want to. It is a point of fact. I'm not going to say that coaching didn't have anything to do with that football game, okay? But I think we have focused way too much on the overtime thing. Don't get me wrong. It's not a good look for Kyle Shanahan, okay? It's not. For his players to be on there going, oh, we really didn't work on anything. Kyle Shanahan apparently basically had a silent thing in his head that if it goes to overtime, this is what we're going to do. I'm not saying that Kyle Shanahan is an elite football coach, because clearly he can't get it done. He really can't. He's 0-3 in Super Bowls, 0-2 in both of those overtime games in Super Bowls. Double-digit leads he's blown. He doesn't know how to finish a football game out. You could blame whatever you want to. You could talk about defensive injuries, just like what happened to Greenwater. I get it, okay? I really get it. Simultaneously, you still have one of the best defensive players in all the NFL in Bosa. You still have the best running back in the NFL in Christian McCaffrey. You still have Debo. You still have Kittle. It's debatable as to who's the best tight end in the NFL right now, him or Travis Kelce. You still got a really good offensive line, who, by the way, big old 71 has been all pro how many times? Literally, it boils down. And by the way, Brock Purdy was like 23 out of 38 or something like that in that football game. He made some throws, but he also missed a lot of guys too. Look, I just, for my money, let me play a game. And this is something that I've seen them do, which is pissing me off because I was doing this before anybody else. I want to play a game. Who would you rather have? And I want you to think legitimately to yourself when you think about this, okay? Now, obviously, we're going to start at the top. Brock Purdy, Patrick Mahomes, right? Okay. Let's say healthy Aaron Rodgers or Brock Purdy, okay? Joe Burrow healthy or Brock Purdy. All right? Lamar Jackson, and I mean be honest, or Brock Purdy. You see what I'm saying? 99% of you, I guarantee you in your head, like, well, okay, so I'm going to keep going here. Josh Allen or Brock Purdy. The athleticism of Josh Allen, there are a lot of people that say that offense isn't everything that it's cracked up to be. To me, if you ask me, Josh Allen and Brock Purdy are in the same boat. But that's neither here nor there, okay? So let's keep going down the pipeline. Russell Wilson or Brock Purdy? And look, here's my other thing. There are a lot of quarterbacks who have won a Super Bowl, but they aren't really that great. You're going to tell me that Brad Johnson should be in the Hall of Fame? You're going to tell me that Trent Dilfer should be in the Hall of Fame? You want me to keep going? Jeff Hostetler? Really? Here's my thing, all right? Just because you go to a Super Bowl does not mean that you are a great individual player. This is not John Elway in the 80s dragging three very mediocre football teams, kicking and screaming in Super Bowls they didn't belong in. This is not Patrick Mahomes dealing with the most pass drops in the NFL, a mediocre offensive line every single year, a defense that he didn't have really up until this season, no Tyreek Hill, other than Travis Kelce. Well, come on, man, don't act like Travis Kelce's nobody. I'm not. But look at the silly mistakes and penalties and drop passes that this team had all season long. All season long. And number 15 still figured it out. There is a difference between a game manager and a game breaker. And all you little 49er fans out there think that Cam Newton's throwing shade at number 13. He's not. What he is saying is he doesn't have to go outside of the actual play itself very often. I guess people forget that 75% of plays in the NFL are still considered timing plays. In fact, it's still roughly 70% of all plays are for pass plays are three-step drop pass plays in timing. Whether anybody likes it or not, the NFL is still not the option league that you think it is. It's not. And it probably never will be. They've incorporated it a lot more than they have in the history of everdom. But that doesn't mean that that's where the league is. And Brock Purdy is more of a traditional drop back passer. I'm not saying he can't make plays with his wheels. What I'm saying is he's not as fast as Lamar, of course, who is, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. He's just not. Hell, I don't even think in his prime he would have been faster than Aaron Rodgers, if I'm keeping it a buck. You have a loaded roster like that, And look, I know that people are going to say, well, did you see the second half of the game, though, against Detroit? What I saw was Detroit completely blow that football game. I called them fraudulent all year long. It took a while, but eventually it was verified who they really were. They are who I thought they were. That's all I'm saying, amigo. You cannot legitimately tell me that you think Brock Purdy is like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Understand that 90% of those pass play calls are 3 yards. 3 yards. 99% of the time when he's got to throw deep over the middle, he's got any kind of pressure on him, he can't get it done. Patrick Mahomes can do that. Well, if you got to compare him to the best, then what does that really say about Brock Purdy? What we're all saying is he's not even anywhere near him. He's nowhere near him. He had the best all-around roster in the NFL, and he could not get it done. Somebody had to be in that Super Bowl, guys, by default, because I guess nobody saw how 23 played in the second half against Detroit, did you? I guess nobody saw that play where Christian McCaffrey had no lane at all, figured out a way to squeeze in there. Then he broke off about 3 tackles off of him, spun out of it, stiff-armed somebody, and then got to the end zone. Boy, I tell you what, man. Look, 49er fan, I get you protecting your quarterback, and I'm all for it, okay? But I am not for exaggerating who Brock Purdy is either. Jared Goff has been to a Super Bowl. When has he been back? Everybody calls Dan Marino great. He went to 1 Super Bowl, blew it, and never got back. It was a combination of Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy and their inability to get it done when it matters the most. Christian McCaffrey, had Frisco won that game, would have been the MVP of that Super Bowl. And that there's literally no debating that at all. You know, as somebody from Wichita, I've seen some things, I've heard some things. I grew up a very certain way. And it's aggravating to me because I thought that a lot of this was put to bed in my hometown. I've seen some marches in favor of the culture, and I've thought to myself, we are making a lot of progress. Unfortunately, there are still some of those out there that think that this is acceptable behavior. And unfortunately, I still see it in my comment section. I had to address it yesterday because somebody thought it was going to be okay to get into my comment section and go, predominantly now it's blacks and I just won't watch the game anymore. Haven't watched it for a long time. Sorry for you, amigo. What happened, Brody? Did your daughter get ran through, pimp? Huh? Did your wife cheat on you? Is that what happened, amigo? Take the L and move your sorry ass along. And it's people like that that will blame the media and say it's our fault. We're the ones creating divisiveness. No. You just get triggered every time you see a person of color, a black man or woman being successful. If you don't like Lamar Jackson being a successful quarterback, 2-time MVP, that's just too damn bad, ain't it? So go ahead, Chad, and take your little ass on back to whatever hole you crawled out of and stay there because don't nobody want to kick it with you anyways. You didn't put your face on there, and that's fine, Brody. I wouldn't expect you to hide in secret. Look, the bottom line is I don't know if the person that they arrested did it or not. It's an allegation. So I'm not going to sit back and be that person who presumptively starts calling this person a bunch of names and saying that they're racist and all kinds of stuff because all we have right now is an allegation. I've never been that journalist. I never will be that journalist. But it is far be it from me to call out nonsense when it is nonsense because regardless of whoever did it, is not going to have a good time where they are right now. I'll tell you that much. And I know somebody out there's going, well, you know why, don't you? It's because it's predominantly colored fellows that are in there with that guy. That's why. No, because a lot of people just don't dig on stupidity. That's why. So hope you ain't in gym pop, Brody. That's all I'm going to say. Do you know how many friends of mine that are black that are corrections officers? You know, you really just, I don't understand why people don't want to check their tone. Why you get so out there. Tell you what, the balls on somebody to take that statue. Where the balls, bro? Anyway, in Wichita, of all places, where League 42 is a thing, League 42, because of that number, because of what he accomplished, that's why it's called League 42. It's literally in Wichita. And it is all about the development of underprivileged kids, giving them things, giving them the equipment for baseball that they otherwise would not have. Because as boring as I think baseball is, I still think it's a rite of passage in this country. You have to play baseball, even if you're just doing it at the Pee Wee League. Just to know the game of baseball, man. I mean, come on. Benny the Jet Rodriguez is still one of the greatest of all time, bro. And Squints is still my hero for pulling that move. That dude is the GOAT for that. If you get the reference, you get the reference. If you don't, then I'm ashamed of your parents for not raising you correctly. Moving on, Hassan Reddick says that he did not request a trade from the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, that's really weird because just the other day, you were documented as saying that you wanted to go and you know how things are around here and you all see how things are around here. And so I'm just kind of like, all right, obviously he wants to get traded. Now he's saying that wasn't me. Like, which one is it, bro? Because, you know, I talked about the divisiveness in the locker room in case you can't get traded. So it sounds to me like you said something out of pocket. Now it's gone all over the place, and you're like, oops, my bad, Brody. Didn't mean to do that. And now you're trying to retract everything and go, well, here's the deal. I want to stay an Eagle, and I hope we're able to work out a really good deal, and I hope things get better around here. And, boy, I tell you what, backpedaling quick. To be fair, Hassan Reddick has been fourth right now in the last 4 years in sacks in the NFL. But you have to ask the question, did Fletcher Cox, as I brought up the other day, make him maybe look potentially better than he is? Because Fletcher Cox is going to demand a lot of attention. So, which one is it, my man? Do you want to get traded or do you not want to get traded? Because you also said in that same statement that you wanted to be the best version of yourself. You didn't know if you could do it in Philly. I mean, look, everybody is to blame for what happened at the end of the season this past season for the Eagles. Everybody. Jalen Hurts, the coaches, the offense, the defense, the getting away from the run game for whatever reason. There's a million and one things to blame when it comes down to what happened with the Philadelphia Eagles this season. Maybe it was a bunch of egos. Everybody decided, you know what, we're 9-1. We were in the Super Bowl last year, inflated because everybody went, we were the better team. Even though we lost, we were the better team. You had a lot of players from the Philadelphia Eagles saying it. Well, who was in the Super Bowl this year and who was watching the Super Bowl? The question is rhetorical, as we all know. I just really think that the Eagles have more problems right now than they have answers for. The team is falling apart at the seams. I think it is a divisive locker room right now. I don't think there's any continuity. You could blame coaching for that if you want to, but let's be honest. We're talking about grown adults who are making their own decisions right now. And one of the things that I talked about with Hassan is this an emotional decision that he's potentially making? Because now he's claiming that he never said that about wanting to get traded. Is it an emotional decision? Like, man, I can't around here. There are other things going on with Philadelphia that I promise you we do not know about. That's why all this is happening. The Eagles are a mess. And as much as I didn't want to believe that this was a one and done for Jalen, it might end up being that way. I think all the money that he took, and I think everything else that has been going on, just for some reason, somewhere, something happened along the line last season where that football team became completely unfocused on winning football games and became completely focused on themselves. And they started playing as individuals instead of as a football team, and it destroyed them. And Hassan Riddick, I think right now, is the perfect example of an individual going rogue and creating more problems. Now, he's just being outspoken about it. Who knows what's being said when we're not listening?
Mintz, runner. What a ball fake by Judah Mintz.
And Judah Mintz, watch right here, the ball fake, the shot fake, frees himself up.
You know, the next time you're in Lexington, you're going to have to answer for the question.
I probably will.
As will Coach Pearl. JJ Starr drops it in to beat the buzzer.
Awareness. I got to somehow snap this thing off. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Starry says.
And Carolina will call off the Dogs and allow Syracuse to close out an upset of number 7 North Carolina. And here comes the student section from Syracuse.
I'm trolling Brody all day. All day I'm trolling, bro. All day. From now until the time you go to bed, I'm trolling all day. I'm like Eminem right now at the end of 8 Mile. Just everybody from the 313, put your motherfucking hands up and follow me. I mean, I know that's Detroit, not Syracuse, but still. Draymond Green, here we go. Him and Yusuf. It's not stopping, is it? I don't see it stopping anytime soon. Here we go.
Questioning my character, I thought was whack. But like guys are making a habit out of that. Him and Kevin questioned my character before, as if you go question somebody's character about a basketball game as if this not real life, as if that don't affect people's pockets. Like, I think all of it was really cowardly, if you want my honest opinion. Yeah, I did what I did. I take my stuff on the chin. We spoke about that. I still stand on that. I meant every word I said about it. But if you want to know the truth about that, I think all of it was cowardly. I think, you start going to question somebody's character in front of the whole world, it's whack. So I think they all whack, both of them, if you want my honest opinion. And yes.
Well, there we go. I would really like to thank 2024 for giving everybody a microphone. Everybody has got a microphone now. Yeah, no disrespect to Draymond or anybody else. The point of what I'm saying is it used to be you had to have talent to have one of these in front of you. Now it doesn't matter. And look, I appreciate that athletes can now have their own voice. They can backfire now. It's not like 2008 when somebody from ESPN or Fox Sports or whomever could just jump on a microphone and start obliterating somebody, and then that person didn't have a voice to hit back. The internet has given them that voice. Twitter has given them that voice. Athletes have been allowed to go and voice their opinion more and more and more, and I think it should be that way. And for the record, I agree with Draymond Green here. It's really easy to attack him because he's a target. An easy target. It's easy to go after Draymond and say, you know what his problem is? He hasn't learned anything. He hasn't learned anything from what happened. Okay, I want to be clear about something. First of all, Yusuf disrespected Draymond down in the post by literally turning his back on him and trying to outsmart him also by daring him to come in, and Draymond seeing right through it. Instead of just trying to go in and get the layup where he knew that there was a good potential of him getting blocked, he backed him down, and then he went left-handed and made that shot. Then Nurkic mad when Draymond pumped, went over the top of him. That's a foul. I want to be clear about this. That was a foul on Nurkic. And when Draymond got upset with the referee for it not being called, he had every right to be upset. And guys do it all the time, and then they run back down the floor, and nothing happens. And they hit up Draymond with a technical on that play, when he does something that we have seen LeBron James do 1,000,001 times in his career. And now you're just like, here's the thing, Brody. Are you serious right now? And then you got these announcers, and I say amen to it. I say amen to it. Amen. What? Amen to what? You guys realize that everything is still situational, right? Everything is situational. We can't look at everything that Draymond has done in a totality and say he's not allowed to still be passionate about playing basketball, and he's supposed to take everything on the chin because he's made some mistakes in his career. That's not okay. That is not acceptable. And I personally am not going to, stand for it. And I'm not going to be one of the ones that goes and goes, yep, you know what? He's right. Draymond just didn't learn a darn thing. That fella over there, because this is what he sounds like to me. He just ain't got the accent. Nurkic sounds to me like, that feller. You know what the problem with him is? He's a thug. And he's got a thug mentality. And he's got a victim mentality. That's his whole problem. You know that? If he didn't have that there victim mentality, he'd be a much better ball player. Now, Steph Curry, that's one of the good ones. That's exactly what he sounds to me like. One of the good ones. You know what? Here's my thing. And I mean this, and this is coming from the heart. The reason why I take up for Draymond so much is because I look at Draymond and I see Draymond Green, the basketball player that Dennis Rodman was, and everybody talks about how much they love Rodman. And I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. If you are cool with the way that 70s, 80s, and 90s basketball was played, but you are not okay with Draymond Green, then you are a hypocrite. You are a hypocrite because, and I reiterate, remember when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar got a gut check from old boy? And Kareem didn't play around. Right cross, bro. Threw it perfectly. Shoulder, leaned into it. I mean, that was a boxing-worthy shot, man, that Muhammad Ali would have been proud of. All the times that we saw the Lakers and the Pistons, or the Pistons and the Celtics, or whomever get into it on the floor. What changed all this was malice at the palace. And they got mad at the wrong people. Should have been mad at that fan for throwing that beer at Metta World Peace. It wasn't on Rasheed Wallace, it wasn't on Ben Wallace, and it wasn't on Metta World Peace. If everybody going, oh, wow, man, somebody threw a beer on him, they shouldn't have done that. Bro, if you soft, just say that. If you allow people to throw beer at you and you ain't going to do nothing about it, just say that. Just say that you're soft. Just say that you're soft. It's okay. We can accept you being soft, bro. Yeah, not everybody's, built like that. That's all right. Me, you throw beer on me, and we are going to war right then and there. It ain't no let's go outside. And I'm not promoting violence. I need everybody to understand this. I am not promoting violence. I am promoting defending yourself. I am promoting what is right and wrong. That was a foul on Draymond Green. He got a little upset about it. Then he turned and walked away about 3 seconds later, and the official decided technical. And I thought we were all on the side this year that the NBA refs are garbage. You get fined anytime you speak out about him. It is whack. Draymond's on point. To hell with that. I don't care what nobody says. I don't agree with everything that Draymond has done. But this right here is garbage. And if everybody wants to keep calling him out and say, well, you're losing my respect, I got news for everybody, pimpin'. Draymond ain't after your respect. The respect that he has is with Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, the Golden State Warriors. And without him, they don't have those titles. Got news for everybody. So there's that. You ain't changing my mind. Not in the least bit. There's nobody out there that can. It is whack. Anywho, here's T-Mac. LeBron.
LeBron James are idiots. Have been some plays where LeBron passed up a shot. Great players make the right play for their team, and LeBron James makes the right play for his team. Michael Jordan thinks the right play for him is to shoot the ball most of the time, but there's been occasions where, all right, there's two guys on me. Where's Steve Kerr? Where's Craig Hodges? Where's B.J. Armstrong? Like, he's made those plays to his teammates because all we ever see is Michael Jordan fading away over Craig Ego with the double pump, or we see MJ shooting a game winner on Brian Russell. Like, he's passed the ball. LeBron James makes the best basketball play for his team, whether that's shooting the ball or whether that's passing the ball. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, has there been times where he should have shot the ball? Yeah, but I'm not going to sit here and criticize and say he's not clutch. He's scared of clutch. Like, come on, man. Give me a break with that.
I can appreciate where T-Mac is coming from, man. And for the younger audience who doesn't know who T-Mac is, what I'm going to encourage you to do is go look up T-Mac. What was it? 13 seconds or a minute left in that basketball game, and he just went ham. Yeah, I'm going to need you to check that out, Brody. If anybody's got a right to speak on it, believe me when I tell you that man does. Look, here's the deal. For the most part, I appreciate where he's coming from, and I've said a lot of these same things myself, which is part of the reason why I agree with him. People forget that sometimes the game is still a team game, whether it's with Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, whatever the case may be. Now, we could talk about the validity of how good those teams were all around. He wants to talk about Craig Hodges, that's fine, but let's not pretend like Craig Hodges is going to be in the Hall of Fame. Colin Cowherd loves to talk about Bill Paxton. Let's not pretend that he's going to be in the Hall of Fame with his career average of 5 points per game. Let's just nip that in the bud right now. Let's not act like B.J. Armstrong is an all-time great, okay? Horace Grant is maybe the only one to me other than Scottie Pippen that's passable that was on that team. Come on, Bill Wellington. And even then, Luke Longley, what did Tony Kukoc ever accomplish without Jordan? What did Pippen do when he was in Portland? But I appreciate his sentiment because he's giving a well-rounded speech, and he's not saying necessarily that LeBron is the GOAT. What he's saying is LeBron is playing the game of basketball the same way that Jordan was playing the game of basketball. The way that it's supposed to be played, that we are making the correct plays and the correct reads and what we think is best for our time. Now, I will say this. I disagree. I think LeBron has disappeared a lot of times in the fourth quarter. Certainly, there's been plenty of instances where he's shown up, but I still maintain that if it wasn't for Ray Allen, then he would not have gotten a ring in Miami. And let's not forget that when he teamed up with D. Wade, that D. Wade, for his size, what was it, 6'2", 6'3", when he played basketball, for his size, was the only player in NBA history to have 10,000 points and the amount of rebounds that he did as well. And D. Wade was already an established champion with Shaquille O'Neal at that time. And they were down, 3-0, if I remember correctly, in that series. And they ended up coming back to win it 2-0, whatever it was, that year with Miami. And Pat Riley said, we're not talking to the media. We're going to go back in here, which is part of the reason why a New York Knicks fan can't stand the Miami Heat because of the way Pat Riley did them and then went on to win a championship with Miami. That's pretty much what that amounts to. It's just guys playing basketball. And I have said for a long time that what gets lost in the GOAT debate is actual basketball. And to me, that's the most frustrating part because we really don't see a lot of truly great basketball in today's game. Guys just standing around the three-point line, just waiting for somebody to cut and kick out. That gets old. And one of the things that I've talked about that I've appreciated watching women's college basketball over the last couple of weeks and really starting to get into that is, man, there's a lot of motion. Yeah, sure, there's some things that I wish I would see in women's college basketball that I'm not going to see in men's basketball. Simultaneously, there's some things in men's basketball that I'm not seeing that I'm seeing in women's basketball, like motion, hustle. The NBA is not near what it used to be, but then again, that's not necessarily the fault of the players, right? I mean, they make the rules to help incorporate the Euro invasion that has happened in the NBA, the Euro step, and in adopting more European rules and all that. So that way, when European ball players come over here, it's more universal. Simultaneously, it makes it easier for NBA guys to go to the Olympics and be able to adjust to Olympic rules. Right, because those are pretty much universal to Europe. So it becomes basically all the rules are universal, essentially, for basketball. So that's what that amounts to. And I think that when we talk basketball, we have to talk about best basketball player in the sense of that's what he was, a basketball player. And I got news for everybody. I don't think LeBron is the GOAT. I do believe that it is MJ. But I am going to say this. A lot of people are going to miss LeBron when he's gone. They really are. Do I think that he has done a lot of things that I can't stand on that court? Absolutely. The flopping, I can't stand it. The joining this team and the joining that team and just wanting to play with his friends. And, I mean, really, when you think about it, it all started when he refused to go to Syracuse because he found out Melo was going to the draft. He wanted to go to Q's and play with Melo. He's always wanted to team up, and I don't know if it's because in high school he was like the only guy. I don't know if he just likes playing with his friends. I don't know if he likes insuring things or whatever the case may be, but I think that part is annoying, and I think that ended up inevitably hurting his career because the one thing to me that will always separate him from MJ is that MJ never went anywhere else, and I think anybody would have broke their neck to go and play for MJ. I don't know how many people would have been willing to leave their situation to go and play with LeBron James in Cleveland. And I understand that because of what happened and the choice that he made when he was younger, there was regret to that, so he never got to make an announcement on going anywhere. But I think it would have been just as cool to announce, hey, I've decided to take my talents back home to Cleveland. And I think LeBron would have a lot more respect. But then again, he's not after your respect. He said he's going to be the first billion-dollar athlete. It's exactly what he became, or basketball player, I should say. That's exactly what he became. That's exactly who he is. He has been successful. And that little old what's-her-name over there can stop with the cap because unless she's got concrete evidence, you need to start tarnishing that man's name outside of the game of basketball because LeBron has been nothing but a good husband and nothing but a good father. And that's all there is to it. He's what every dad aspires to be. That man took off work at the highest level to go and watch his kid play basketball. I will never speak bad about LeBron outside of the game of basketball, ever, period. And nobody should. And it's weird that so many people are worried about it. But it is what it is. Oh, did you hear that? Let's go orange. Let's go orange. I told you I was trolling all day. All day. It's going to be a long night tonight, Brody. All day. Let's go orange. Don't worry, bro. Q's ain't even going to get nowhere near the Final Four. I'll just be happy if we get an NIT. I'm just saying. Well, I guess, then again, depending on how we do in the ACC tournament, which we will see you again. At the buzzer, whoosh, kiss off the glass. Call that next time, my man. Really quick here. The UFL, again, USFL, XFL, they've merged together. They have created the UFL, and they have said that they're going to go back to a more traditional style of kickoff. They talked about meeting with team doctors and physicians and things of that nature. Look, I don't know that there's really any analytical way out there that you could really say, because it hasn't happened long enough, whether or not on the kickoffs that the XFL was doing, that it was helping prevent any type of serious injury, including concussions, including, leg injuries, things of that nature. Kickoffs are said to be the play where the most injuries occur, kickoffs and punts, right? So what the XFL was trying to do with those formations was protect athletes, and nobody could do anything until the receiver had caught the ball. So you had everybody lined up real close right there. Okay, instead of the traditional, more of a pyramid formation, right? You had everybody lined up directly across. You kick it. Once the ball is received, at that point, everybody is then able to go and make contact. And I think that was not just potentially a safer way of doing it, but I think it was also a better look. It was something that was different. Look, I've said all along that in order for both of these teams, corporations to survive, that the XFL was going to have to merge with the USFL. I said that years ago, and it happened. I've also said that they're going to have to figure out another way to separate themselves from the NFL. You're going to have to make sure that this is still football while doing some things that are different. You could deal with all the different camera angles and all that stuff if you want to, but this isn't a video game. And I'm not really sure that people are looking for the video game experience when they're tuning in to watch live football. I just think that what they need to do is, the creative ways of doing the extra point. You could go for 1, you could go for 2, you could go for 3. Those things were pretty cool. The kickoff was very cool. The overtime rules were awesome. And I just think that when you start trying to be more traditional football, what's going to happen is they're going to kind of see this thing as like a G League. And I don't know that that's what you want to be. I'm not saying that you need to compete with the NFL, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't call yourself a stepping stone to the NFL. But what I am definitely saying is that if you can't figure out a way to make yourself different and entertaining while still being football, then you're not going to be successful, and you are going to crumble yourself. Because I can appreciate the promotions that they've been doing and what The Rock is doing with the WWE to try and promote what the UFL is doing to get on ESPN, but really more what's been out there is him being in the WWE than what is going on with the XFL, or pardon me, UFL. There's just not enough of it. And I think the time spots that they gave him for the college football playoff were not inducive to the success of the UFL. And while I appreciate what they have done in terms of their ownership, the team, the Brahmas, come on, man. There's just been some really, really bad mistakes. Perception is everything. The Sea Dragons, what a cornball name. What drunk uncle promised a child that they would name that team the Sea Dragons, and then when they woke up the next morning, got a text from some parent who said, "Thank you so much for keeping your promise. Little Joey really appreciates it." There's so many things that still need to be changed, but I do have high hopes for it. Really quick here, because the fans went crazy, there was an immediate meeting afterwards, and in case you missed it, I would encourage you to go and watch it. You had golfers mad, telling everybody to shut the F up, that they're trying to putt, they're trying to hit, they're trying to do whatever. That's fine, but it was entertaining. Now, running onto the golf course, look, that's a bit much. But everything that they were doing behind, and, eventually they had to stop letting people in. And let's not forget that they actually oversold for that event by 50,000, I think. It was meant to hold 187, and 226 were in attendance, and they had to, stop selling beer to people. And, it was complete chaos, So whatever was going on in Phoenix, they may not have liked, but I got to tell you, me watching it, I was just like, yo, this is Happy Gilmore. I'm good with this because this is entertaining as hell. And again, the old adage is, you know why the golf announcer talks like this, don't you? So he doesn't wake you from your nap. Well, I wouldn't have napped through that. And if I would have known it was going to go like that, I damn sure would have watched it. Man, you're okay with fans acting like that? That's stupid. Well, I don't know, bro. Do basketball fans get loud and try to distract the other team? I mean, come on, man. We got dudes wearing Speedos at Bucknell now. Will you stop it? Like, seriously? Come on. Do NBA fans not get loud and try and distract the other team? You know, it should be a part of golf. I don't want to root for this guy. I'm going to get a little loud, you know? You can't make it. That's all I'm saying. That would be entertaining. All right, real quick before we get out of here, guys. One final thing. All right, everybody, I'm Drew Duncan. The show is fired up, and I am brought to you in part by WBFR Block 50 Radio, which is online 24/7, 365 at block50radio.com. Wherever you are listening to podcasts, take your device and play Fired Up by Drew Duncan, iTunes, iHeart, etc. Wherever you're listening, I am there. Still plenty more to get to, obviously, this week. Your local programming is next. Don't you dare touch that dial.
Block 50 Global Radio.